We're on a trek upriver. We're following the underwater trail of thousands of Pacific salmon.
Salmon are really amazing because they have this complex life cycle that includes the land, the sea, and then back to the land. They hatch in streams, sometimes hundreds of kilometers inland, and then they start migrating down the river into estuaries where the river meets the sea. They spend several years in the ocean, fattening up and growing to a large size, and then swimming all the way back to the same stream where they were once born.
This migrating fish is a staple food source for the Heilsa. But it's not just important to us. In fact, salmon, in our language, mia, is a keystone species. This entire ecosystem depends on it.
So right now we're in the Klatsy River system, and we met up with the John Reynolds Lab from Simon Fraser University, and we're looking at the health of these ecosystems and the salmon populations within these rivers.
I've been working here with my crew every year for about 11 years in collaboration with the Heiltsuk people. We're interested in how the nutrients from salmon affect pretty much everything potentially that we see around us in the forests.
Since we're all counting on salmon to come back here every year, well, it's best we truly start counting them. 1 fish, 2 fish, dead fish, new fish.
How many salmon in a given year would you see in a system like this?
This system can easily have up to about 100,000 fish. And the 2 species of fish that are here are pink and chum, and so they are just 2 of the 5 species of salmon that we have along the BC coast.
What's my job today?
So you're probably been looking for dead salmon, and we have these guys, they're called clickers. We use them to actually kind of count the number of dead fish. So dead salmon means senescent salmon, ones that have died naturally after spawning, or bear-killed or wolf-killed salmon.
At any time along their upriver journey, salmon can be plucked from the water by these predators.
What may have killed this?
If it was a bear, more of it would be eaten. And if it was a wolf, the brain would be probably missing. Because wolves love to eat the brains of fish. But I think actually birds got into it, kind of got at some of those organs in there. You can still, it's a pretty fresh kill, it's still bleeding, so it probably didn't die that long ago.
Knowing what killed the salmon will help us to track how much of that salmon's nutrients are finding their way back into the surrounding ecosystem.
So you say this is a bear kill, why is there still so much salmon left?
Yeah, so sometimes bears are really choosy and they haul out a fish only to realize potentially it's not a female with those energy-rich eggs. So they just kind of toss it aside and they can go fish for new ones.
Well, that looks like they're pretty fussy eaters. I guess we have that in common.
Salmon fisheries are managed in a way that does not account for any of these kinds of findings of the connections with salmon and their wider ecosystems. Bears need salmon too, and eagles need to scavenge on them, and in fact, some of the forest structure that are affected by salmon. If you want to go to the government and say, no, you really want to leave some behind for the other things, their first question to me is always, well, how much? How many? How much are we going to give up from the fishery in order to help these other ecosystem benefits? And that's a very tricky question.
Counting salmon, dead or alive, is one tool that can help us answer this question. But it'll take a lot more than a pair of waders and a clicker to get the full picture.
So you said you've been studying this work for 11 years now. Have you seen an increase or a decline in the salmon populations over those 11 years?
You'd have to go back a lot longer in time to be able to figure that out. To be honest, the people who have the best handle on that are the people who live here, because they've lived here, fish here, and so on. I'm a newcomer.
The numbers in my lifetime has dropped dramatically. 30 years ago, there was fish everywhere. Now, there's hardly any. Overfishing, environmental issues. If the year is dry and the river is too low, salmon stress out down below and die. If the year is too wet and there's too much rain, the river is flooded, salmon get up, but the eggs get washed out. So there's a very delicate balance in order to keep salmon in this river.
Everything we do on land ultimately is going to end up in the water. You should think like a watershed. And what that means is, remember that everything that happens upstream, up on the slopes, storm sewers in cities, everything eventually ends up in the sea.
From forestry and fishing management to curbing climate change, there's a lot that we can do to help protect these streams. Because while we're counting salmon, Mother Earth is counting on us.
The weather, animals, the human, we all have a role in the balance of an ecosystem like this. The balance is so delicate that if anything weighs one side or the other, that balance is going to topple over and we're going to lose everything. We need to protect what's left